San Quentin, just the name itself brings up these intense images, right? Infamous criminals, maximum security lockdown. For over 170 years, it's held this really unique, and let's be honest, terrifying place in the American imagination. But the story of this prison, it's so much more than just the monsters it holds. It's a wild story of art, of rebellion, and in a way, the story of America itself. Think about this. In 1969, Johnny Cash walks onto a stage in front of a yard full of inmates and plays a song he literally wrote for them the night before. And that raw, angry performance, the one that got captured on that famous live album, it didn't just cement his whole Man in Black image. It basically tattooed the legend of San Quentin onto American pop culture forever.
So, you gotta ask, how did this one single prison become this battleground for some of the most destructive but also the most creative and revolutionary forces in the country? Well, the answer is as complicated and as full of contradictions as America itself.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. San Quentin is California's oldest prison. Since way back in 1852, its walls, which sit right there overlooking the San Francisco Bay, have held a truly mind-boggling cast of characters. I'm talking everyone from Old West outlaws to some of the most infamous monsters of our time.
And that's where the story of San Quentin gets dark. Really dark. This place has been a cage for some of history's most terrifying criminals. I mean, the list of names who have been here reads like a who's who of true crime nightmares.
And topping that list, of course, is Charles Manson. Now, he was moved around a bit, but it was from inside San Quentin that he gave that absolutely unforgettable, rambling interview in 1987, giving the entire world a direct and frankly chilling look right into his twisted mind.
And then you had Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. The guy's absolute reign of terror in the mid-'80s was all fueled by this twisted devotion to Satanism. And he never showed a single shred of remorse for his crimes, right up until he died on San Quentin's death row. The prison also housed Richard Chase, known as the Vampire of Sacramento, who drank his victims' blood and cannibalized their remains. It is just a stark, horrifying reminder of the kind of evil that's been contained within those walls. Now, this is where things get kind of weird. The nickname the Freeway Killer doesn't actually belong to just one guy. It refers to 3 separate, totally unrelated serial killers, 2 of whom ended up right here at San Quentin. So on the left, you see William Bonning, he was executed there. And then on the right, Randy Kraft, who was also on death row, shared that same infamous nickname with a 3rd killer, Patrick Kearney. It's just an unnerving coincidence that really shows you the sheer volume of violence that has passed through those gates.
But, and this is a huge but, for all of that darkness, the story of San Quentin takes this incredible dramatic turn. Because, believe it or not, this place of just profound despair was also this crucible for art and for transformation. This is where the stories of pure evil give way to stories of redemption. And look, the poster child for this has to be the country music icon Merle Haggard. Long before he was a legend, he was inmate number A45200, doing time for burglary. His life was, well, it was going nowhere fast, until one fateful day in 1958.
And this timeline just lays it all out perfectly. He gets sentenced in '57. Just a year later, he's in the audience for Johnny Cash's very first concert at San Quentin. Haggard later said that Cash chewed gum, looked arrogant, and flipped the bird to the guards. He was there because he loved us. And you can just imagine, right? That performance, it lit a fire under him. He was released in 1960 and, well, the rest is country music history.
And Haggard wasn't a one-off thing. Not by a long shot. San Quentin has this bizarre, paradoxical history of sparking creativity. I mean, take Edward Bunker. The guy goes from inmate to a celebrated crime novelist and actor. You might even recognize him as Mr. Blue in Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. Or Carol Chessman, who wrote a bestseller, Cell 2455 Death Row, while he was on death row, sparking this huge national debate about capital punishment. And then, in a twist that's straight out of Hollywood, the character actor Leo Gordon, the guy who always played the tough guys, he actually came back to film a prison movie at San Quentin, the very place he was once locked up. You can't make this stuff up.
But there's another side to this story, a totally different, explosive chapter. This part isn't just about individual crime or art. It's about organized political rebellion that just erupted into a national firestorm.
Okay, so picture this. August 21st, 1971.
George Jackson, a co-founder of the Black Guerrilla family and a field marshal for the Black Panther Party, is at the very center of this chaotic and bloody escape attempt. When the dust finally settled, 3 guards and 3 inmates, including Jackson himself, were dead.
But the story didn't end with the smoke and the chaos. No way. In the aftermath, the state leveled charges of murder and conspiracy against a group of inmates who would become a powerful symbol of the prison rights movement. They became known as the San Quentin Six.
So these 6 men, including the Chicano activist and poet Luis Talamantes, were accused of masterminding the whole thing. Now, for the state, this was an open and shut case of a violent uprising. But for activists in the defense team, it was something else entirely. A political trial designed to crush dissent.
So here's what the prison was saying. An official put it really plainly. It was a foolish attempt that showed complete disregard for the lives of officers. From their point of view, this was a brutal, unprovoked attack by violent revolutionaries. End of story.
But the defense, led by the famous attorney William Kunstler, they had a completely different story. They argued this wasn't an escape attempt gone wrong at all, but a setup. They claimed George Jackson had been murdered by the state and that these 6 men were being framed to cover it all up.
So what happened next was just a legal marathon. As you can see from the details here, the trial dragged on for 16 months, the longest in California's history at that point. It became this major flashpoint for the entire prison rights movement. And in a result that stunned a lot of people, a key defendant, Luis Talamantes, was acquitted on all charges. It was a huge victory for the defense and a massive blow to the state's narrative.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the killers, the artists, the revolutionaries, you start to realize that San Quentin isn't just a prison. It's like a microcosm of America's deepest and most painful conflicts over crime, punishment, art, and justice.
So what's the takeaway here? Well, San Quentin isn't just one thing, right? It's all of these things at once. It's a pop culture landmark, thanks to Johnny Cash. It's a warehouse for some of the most infamous killers imaginable, like Manson and Ramirez. It's a strange crucible that somehow forged artists like Merle Haggard. It's a battleground for political movements, and to this day, it remains the ultimate symbol of capital punishment in California.
And all of that leaves us with one last big question. Is the true story of a place like San Quentin defined by the monsters it cages, or maybe by the unexpected art that it inspires? Or is it all about the deep and often brutal contradictions of the justice system it represents? It's a question without any easy answer.